Welcome back to the Mysteries in Depth. This mission is a very interesting one, and there is a lot of interesting things to discuss. We got ghosts, a couple of magical items, unique images, and several Easter eggs. On top of that, this is another inside mission, which there are not many of. The journal for this mission occurs the day after the Legion captured Mumbo.
Friday, February 27th, Mumbo. 110 years ago, during the Wolf Age, Mumbo was sacked, burned, and all but buried under a mountain of rock and sand by Balor and the Fallen Lords. As I stood before the ruins of the mausoleum of the Cat Bruig, I could not help but wonder what we had hoped to gain by owning it. All was made clear when King Ulrich arrived today and revealed his intentions. Once we have recovered the Ibis crown, he declared, Llancarvan will once more be the seat of the Cat Bruig Empire, with myself as Emperor. The people will draw strength from me, and we will go forth and strike down our enemies. Once they have been defeated, we will rebuild the Empire to its former glory. Legend states that whoever wears the Ibis crown has at his disposal truly staggering power. Such was the artifact's power that Sir Soren, at fantastic expense, commissioned 11 ordinary copies of the thing to be made, in order to make theft of the true crown more difficult. When Mumbo fell to the Fallen Lords, the crown was nowhere to be found. King Ulrich believes it was secreted away in the catacombs below the mausoleum of the Cat Bruig. Knowing that entering the haunted crypt is tantamount to a death sentence, the king has called for volunteers. Though willing, I will not be going below to help find the crown. Instead, I will be traveling south to Forest Heart to search for another relic, the Tain.
The journal says that Mumbo was sacked and burned 110 years ago. Mumbo fell 50 years before Myth the Fallen Lords, and there is 60 years between the Great War and Myth 2 Soulblighter, so this adds up to the 110 years ago in the journal. There is a potential contradiction to this in Myth the Fallen Lords prologue, where it says that Mumbo fell a few years ago, but it seems that the journal confirms that this is incorrect. There is a journal image showing Ulrich revealing his plan to Legion forces in Mumbo. You can see in the background the entrance to the mausoleum of the Cat Bruig that we will be entering to reclaim the Ibis crown. This is actually a bit odd because there is a Huron guard in the mission which shouldn't be there until after we reclaim the Ibis crown. If you don't know the story in this game well, you will see what I mean shortly. At this point in the game, we are still accumulating enough strength and power to defeat Soulblighter. So far we got the Deceiver and the Trow on our side, and now we are fetching the Ibis crown. We will also be fetching a very powerful magical sword called Balmung. We will see the sword in action later in the game. There is no mention of the name of the sword until towards the end of the game. The game doesn't reveal what the Ibis crown does exactly, but this journal tells us that it has truly staggering power according to legend. Sea Soren is not mentioned anywhere else within the game, so we don't know exactly who he is. Some theorize that he was an emperor of the Cat Bruig before Balor came and sacked Mumbo, and he created the replicas of the Ibis crown in response to this, to keep Balor from reclaiming the Ibis crown. There isn't any evidence that says whether he was for sure the emperor or exactly when he created the replicas of the crown. It could be that he made them long before Balor and even Connacht. There is a journal image that shows Balor holding one of the replicas of the crown. He looks a bit angry at having found that this is not the real Ibis crown. He even took off his helmet, convinced that it was. You can see the previous dead emperor of the Cat Bruig also. This may have been Sescorin, but we will never know for sure. The really interesting thing about this picture is Balor's suit of armor. This looks like the same magical suit of armor that he is wearing in the last battle in Myth the Fallen Lords, but this is from 50 years before Myth the Fallen Lords started. Does this mean that the head sent Ulrich to find the magical suit of armor that Balor was already wearing? Perhaps the head was trying to get Ulrich killed, or perhaps the head did not know that Balor already had it. There really isn't any way to know for sure. The journal narrator tells us that he and some of the other soldiers from the Legion were sent to Forest Heart to search for the Tame. We will be getting to that in a couple missions from now. The Deceiver was sent to Forest Heart also. There is a journal image showing the Legion descending into the haunted crypt. Now the game doesn't really tell us exactly what the Ibis Crown does. I have seen some people theorize that the crown really does nothing, and that possibly Ulrich never really finds the real crown and is just tricking the journeyman by saying he ends up finding the real crown. This has some holes though, because the journeymen are the most knowledgeable people in the world of myth, so it is a bit silly in my mind to say that they can easily be manipulated by Ulrich. I believe that the reality is that the Ibis Crown does in fact hold immense power. Myth GURPS says that it is the strongest enhanced item in myth history, and it gives the possessor a vast inventory of powers. For the GURPS game, it gives the wearer such things as higher IQ, and gives a mage such magic as the ability to cast fear, bravery, daze, sleep, and so on. I think GURPS is on the right track. Here is what Ulrich says about the Ibis Crown again.
Once we have recovered the Ibis Crown, he declared, Llancarvan will once more be the seat of the Cathbruig Empire, with myself as Emperor. The people will draw strength from me, and we will go forth and strike down our enemies. Once they have been defeated, we will rebuild the Empire to its former glory.
If you think about it, saying that the people will draw strength from him being Empire seems like a very arrogant thing to say. Nowhere else in the game does Ulrich say anything like this where he sounds so full of himself. It would make sense then that the reason they would draw strength from him is because of the magical properties of the Ibis Crown. If the sword is magical, then it aids the user in defeating their opponent in combat, which is the purpose of a sword. A crown, however, is there to show that the wearer is the ruler and to bring inspiration to the people who he leads. It would make sense then that if this crown was magical, that it would somehow boost the wearer's influence over others. Of course, this is all speculation, so if you have some other opinions on this, I would be happy to hear about them. Now this mission is very unique, as we will not be fighting against Soulblighter's forces, and instead we will be fighting against the ghosts within the mausoleum of the Cathbruig. The ghosts are basically the same as the regular units, but appear as grey versions of the typical appearance. There are also a few Stygian knights who defended the crypt. The Stygian knights are obviously there to protect the treasures kept within the crypt. I discussed them more in depth in an earlier video. The Myth 2 Soulblighter manual tells us that only the darkest sorcery is capable of creating these magically animated suits of armor. For this reason, it is likely that they were placed here by the spider cultists, or possibly even the warlocks of Scalamonds. There are ghost bowmen, berserks, dwarves, and Recridia. Ghosts are not a common thing within the myth universe. Sure, there are animated corpses by magic, but ghosts, as we typically think of in the real world, don't seem to exist on the most part in the myth universe. For this reason, it begs the question, why are there ghosts within the mausoleum of the Cathbruig? Several of the ghost flavor texts point to the fact that these ghosts did in fact die around Myrthemni. To be a bowman in the Imperial Army was an honor second only to acceptance into the Huron Guard. It is said that their honor was so great they would not sleep as long as the crown was in peril. The bowman flavor text is interesting because it hints that some humans were very good with bows in the past. The art of bowmanship was lost with the fall of Myrthemni. Thanks to the Firbolg, the art of the bow returned. In honor of their heroism, Connacht allowed the men of the north who had been slain defending Llancarvan to be buried in the mausoleum of Clovis, the royal crypt of the Cathbruig. In the past, it was an honor, it seems, to be buried in the mausoleum of Clovis. Makes sense since this is a royal crypt. The masons who built the mausoleum for Clovis, the first emperor of the Cathbruig, still haunt these ancient quarters, eager to destroy those who would plunder its sacred vaults. The dwarf flavor text tells us that the dwarves were the one who built the mausoleum in the first place. The dwarves had a strong presence in Lankerfin in the past, and because of their building skills, especially underground, it makes sense that they would be the ones to construct it. The dwarf flavor text also hints that the purpose of the ghost is to destroy those who would plunder the crypt. Many of them were slain when they attacked Mirthemni, and their cursed blood seeped into the ground. Not every mystery disappearance could be traced back to the spider cults. The Macridia ghosts are interesting because unlike the other ghosts, the Macridia are enemies of the Cathru. In fact, we will see in the mission that they fight against the other ghosts within the crypt. Whatever is causing these ghosts to stir is not based upon good or evil. At least not with the Macridia. The flavor text tells us that not every mysterious disappearance could be traced to the spider cultists. The spiders the spider cultists worship were likely the ones to cause these mysterious disappearances. It is a wonder why the spider cultists were tolerated for as long as they were within the city, almost like they were respected. Anyways, it seemed that these Macridia were causing some of the Cathru to disappear, likely being dragged away into the crypt and killed. Now, the game doesn't explain exactly why there are ghosts within the crypt, but I would venture to guess that they exist because of the strong magical forces that exist within the crypt. Perhaps the spirit of those who died are drawn to them. A likely magical artifact that would do this is the Ibis crown, which, as I said before, likely has the power to influence others. Another possibility is that there is some sort of spell or magic that causes this and was placed there with the intent of protecting the mausoleum. It could have just not worked perfectly, and that is why the Macridia are there. Again, a lot of this is speculation. Let me know what you guys think of this. Now let's jump to the mission and face the horde within the crypt. Search the catacombs below Mirthemni for the Ibis crown. One of your journeymen must live to recover it. So when you first start the mission, there's going to be all these ghosts attacking each other. Some Macridia, some bowmen, and some berserks. So what we want to do, well, we'll first hike on our guys. So they'll kind of fight each other and then just ignore you. But what you can do is you can get a few kills on them before they disappear. They'll fight for a little bit and they'll disappear. If you get any kills on them, you get the experience. So the only thing you want to do is not go too far forward, because otherwise they will charge you and kill you. Well, I threw some bad grenades. I didn't get any kills. But I did get my dwarf kill. Oh. Let's try this again. Maybe I should just let them do their thing and just ignore it, so I don't kill myself. It seems that that's a major problem for me. You don't get very many bowmen in this mission, that's for sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna take it easier. Seems like we're just getting ourselves killed. So, when you come down here, you have 3 routes you can take. The first one to the left has a ton of Macridia. So, I mean, really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to go behind here. So we can go here and around to the right, or we, you know, straight and then to the right, and then or to the right, or to the left. So we don't want to go to the left. At least I'm not going to. I'm not going to show you every route. I'm just going to show you these ways. So if you come down here, there's bowman, berserk, or Macridia. You basically just have to fight against Macridia. The other route you can go, which most people do, is you come this way. If you come this way, there's going to be dwarves coming at you from both sides, and there's a lot of them. And there's like 4 waves or something like that. And honestly, it's not that difficult, but there is a lot of dwarves within one group. So if you don't manage to kill them, you will lose a guy or two if you don't kill them before they can get up to you. Even with the hill advantage, it's hard to like consistently kill them all, unless you can like micromanage. But it's hard to micromanage everything because you got two sides, right? So I'm gonna go this way, and this way has a bunch of bowmen that appear, and so it's actually really easy to get this way and get past them, and maybe only take like one hit or so. So let me show you how it's done. So there's going to be a group of bowmen that appear right here. So we're just gonna, as soon as they appear, a little bit further down. As soon as they appear, we're gonna come up here. And there's gonna be another group that appear right here. So we're just gonna park right there. So if you park right there, they won't appear, which is really strange. So, because I guess they don't want you to melee them. There's another group that appears right here, so we're gonna get them. So you don't want to go too far up here because there's some berserks up here somewhere that will spawn. Now there's another one like somewhere around here and another one over here. I think there's two more. We're gonna block all this, guys. Piece of cake. Okay, so there's one more. We're gonna place him right on here. So it's normally people like bring in one at a time, but because you can just park your units here, you know what I mean? You can just now grab all your units and just drag them through right at the same time, right? Now when you get up here, there's kind of an interesting thing. There's all these Recridia howling, and they just kind of disappear and reappear. They actually don't fight you though, so you can actually just march right through them. I guess Bungie is just trying to scare you. Sometimes your units will stop because they're blocking the route, and you just appear in front of them, right? And these Stygian Knights are actually inactive. Guess they're just suits of armor, really. Well, they're a little bit more than that. When you're running away, they'll appear and they'll shoot this guy in the back. So you just gotta dodge that one. But other than that, you should be fine to get through here without getting any hits. So then you get through here. So basically, you see, I got through this without taking a single hit. So that's easier than going this route, easily. But you wouldn't think that, but, you know, that really is the case. At least for me it is. So, when we get through here, all these Stygian Knights are going to turn around. So there's some sort of magic on them, but, you know, perhaps they don't have their full magic like normal Stygian Knights. Once we get to a certain point in here, a bunch of Dwarven ghosts are going to come from behind. So we're going to go up here and take this hill. And then we're going to just stay up here. You see that there's the Stygian Knights. They flipped around. Then we'll hear some, eventually we'll get past and we'll hear some dwarves laugh. And then they'll be coming from behind like they are right now. We're gonna get these bowmen a little offset so they don't accidentally shoot these dwarves. There's a lot of them. It's fun just to watch the explosion go on and just kill everything. It's kind of hilarious. A lot of the enemies in this game you kind of just avoid and don't even have to fight. Just kind of avoid the traps. If you want to, you can not blow up them and use these satchel charges later, but I don't have a spot in this mission where I actually use satchel charges because you really don't need them. Okay, so there's going to be a little cool thing here, which I'm sure everyone here is aware of. Come up here. You know, there's going to be some ghosts that appear.
Let's go. Yeah.
We're going to run back. So we're going to see... Maybe I didn't come close enough.
Yeah. Let's go.
There we go. So you see these doors coming behind them. It's kind of cool. It's like the McCurdy ghosts are unaware. You'd think they would hear them placing those satchels. Then the doors disappear. I wish my doors could do that when they lay a trap, right? Oh, I love it when grenades just bounce randomly. So this is like the real path. The other path we could have came down was down here. There's like Mercuria and the line of bowmen that appear like the other ones, much like the other ones. So now we just come into this next room.
Yeah. I'm moving.
Actually, when we come in here, there's gonna be some berserks that appear, but you don't gotta worry about them because they'll just disappear before they get up to you. Guess you can whack them a few times. Okay, so there's all these Stygian Knights right here, and these ones are alive. Well, that is if you come close to them. If you come like within, like this Stygian Knight, if you come like within like this area or something about like that, he'll come active and start chasing you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna send a berserk in and just bring him out and kill him with our doors. Another thing you can do is because they only are activated if you come within a certain area. So a lot of people will grab their units and send one down at a time, but I feel like that takes longer, so I'm just gonna kill them. So what I kind of do is I kind of come in at a kind of zigzag, you know what I mean? And then I can kill as many at a time as possible, because I don't want to waste more time, every guy's time than needed, right?
I'm moving. Let's go. Over here. Let's go.
These Stygian Knights are so weak to grenades, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Let's go. Over here. I'm moving. Yeah. Let's go.
Now we just get the ones that we didn't kill before.
Let's go. Yeah.
You gotta be careful, because if you go too close and they don't run it away at an angle, they might be able to get a hit on you.
Let's go.
So I come here and then you see I kind of run away at an angle instead of straight away. It's because if I run straight down, they might get a hit on me. It's better to run away from them first, you know. Make sure I get some distance on them. Okay, well that's that part. See, I think that's much faster than trying to send one unit down at a time, but... And then here's a teleporter that goes closer to, well, let's set up right here first. So we see, like, a group of ghosts go into this teleporter. So, like, that's hinting that we're supposed to go through the teleporter. So it kind of makes you wonder if, like, if we didn't see those ghosts, would they have been able to find the Ibis crown, right?
I'm moving.
I mean, it looks like it's obvious, but you know, sometimes what's obvious within the mission and obvious within the actual story are two different things, right? If you know what I mean. So then we get teleported over here. Now this is probably the most challenging part of the game right here. Of this mission, not of the game. Definitely not of the game, but of this mission. It's because up here there's going to be a group of bowmen that come. It's like 12 bowmen or something, right?
Let's go.
And so,
I'm moving.
because there's a lot of them, it's really hard to kill them without kills. But, you know, our journeymen have heals, and journeymen have a lot of health in this game. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let the journeymen be our mute shields and send in our berserk behind them.
I'm moving. Yeah. I'm moving. Yeah. Yeah. Chill.
We'll kind of get one guy on everyone. I guess there's like 9 bowmen. There's not as many as I said.
Over here.
And you know, we can heal, but we really don't need that many of these heals, to be honest. Because we really aren't fighting anyone, really. Okay, so there's another group of bowmen up here, but these bowmen, if you just get close to them, they'll disappear. So, probably the best thing to do
Yeah.
is just to send one berserk at them and dodge them.
Moving.
You might take a few hits, you know what I mean, which is okay.
I'm moving. Yeah. Over here. I'm moving. I'm moving. Die.
Ah, fail. My dodging skills are failing me there.
Yeah.
Oh, I screwed that up.
I'm moving. Let's go. Yeah. I'm moving.
Ah. Let me try this again. Let's get one that has full health.
Yeah.
Okay, this one.
Over here. Let's
Okay,
go.
so maybe what I should do
I'm
is
moving. Yeah.
do a better job, right?
Let's go. I'm moving. Let's go. Yeah. I'm moving. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. I'm moving. Let's go. Let's go.
There we go. And then there's these berserks, but they
go.
disappear also.
I'm moving.
So, you know what I mean? And then we can heal this guy, and that's that whole group ignored or avoided. We really don't even need to heal him because we don't need him.
Let's go.
Now, this next area is kind of this long hallway that leads to the Ibis crown.
Let's go.
And
Moving.
there's some berserks that will appear here, right?
Over here.
But again,
I'm moving. Let's go.
if we just run away, they will fight you, but if you just like run away a certain distance, they'll just disappear. It's probably around here somewhere. They'll disappear. Yeah, see? And that's that. So we can just bring all our forces near the Ibis crown. Now, there is something special here.
Yeah. Let's
Here's
go.
all the Mercuria. So, there's this sword we can grab over here that's Balmong.
I'm moving.
And so we're gonna kind of just sneak through these mercs.
Let's go.
If we get too close to them, they'll all start charging our units.
Over here.
So we want to kind of dodge them.
Yeah. I'm moving. Let's go. Yeah. I'm moving. I'm moving. Over here. I'm moving. Yeah. I'm moving. Let's
Okay,
go.
so we got this crown. Or this sword, I mean, not the crown. The crown's in the middle of the room. I guess I didn't really show it. There's the crown. So, if we attack some enemies, I'll just show you what it is. So it kind of shoots from the enemy to enemy. So you see, he got close enough to me, so it, But then all these Recruitia will come at us, and it's going to be a pain to kill them all. We'll see if I can do it. I probably not. Probably not without casualties. So the easier way to do this, well, let me hide this guy in the corner. So there is a way you could do this if you wanted to, is you could lead this guy's back here and lay like a line of satchel charges, or lay a bunch of satchel charges, you know, however you want. Probably easiest with a long line here though, you know what I mean? And then blow them all up that way. But if you grab the Ibis crown, they will actually all disappear. So let's do it that way. Let's send in one of our journeymen. Do you have full health? Well, it doesn't really matter, because we have to avoid them anyways. So we just got to use some dodging skills and get all the way to the crown without these ghosts noticing us. And then we'll grab the crown and we'll be good. So you kind of have to pay attention to where they're running so you don't get in their path. There's a lot over here, so I'm probably going to go this way. But I don't know where this guy's going to go. No, looks like I should go this way. There, it looks like I got a nice little path to the crown. But this guy's kind of running at me, so I'm going to get out of his way. Ah! Can I grab it without this guy killing me? He didn't even notice me. Now that I think about it, I guess I didn't really test if you go near them if they'll get alerted. I'm pretty sure they do though. Maybe I remember that wrong. Maybe should have checked that. Oh well. That'd be pretty funny if you could just run right near them and I was dodging for no reason. But anyways. The windscreen shows one of the journeymen holding the Ibis crown. The crown is glowing in the darkness, which further suggests that it does indeed have magical properties. There are a couple of doors in the back that look like they are staring at the crown in amazement. The wall in the back matches the art on the walls in the mission. We will talk more about these in a moment. The lost screen shows a dead journeyman on the ground within the caves of the mausoleum. It is a bit hilarious because he almost looks like he is deflated, though I don't think this was intentional. The drawers in the back look like they don't know what to do without the knowledge of the journeyman to help them out. If you look just to the right of the journeyman's head, it almost looks like that he has a wig on the ground that came off his head. To the bottom right, it almost looks like there is something there, but it is more than likely just the blood on the ground. Perhaps he was scalped. There are a lot of interesting things within the mausoleum to discuss, so we will start near the beginning of the mission and go towards the end in a rough order. The ramp at the entrance to the mausoleum of the Cathbrug has the image of a skull on it. This makes sense since those who are dead were buried here. There are several rocks near the entrance area with a bunch of black openings within them. This is likely the burial place of those who were buried here. There are a few locations where there is just one larger one on the ground instead of the typical double, so perhaps these were where the emperors were buried. If you take the first left, you will see that there is a sort of mound-looking thing on the ground with an image of the spider carved into it. No doubt this represents the spider cultists. Perhaps the spider cultists had enough influence within Mythemni that some of them were also buried here. If you continue to the left from here, there are a bunch of Macridia in this direction. There is actually an alternative path to the same area if you go to the right from the start instead of the left. Because of all the Macridia presence here, perhaps the Mercs dug this entrance out or something like that. The reason I say this is because the path with the Stygian Knights on the left looks like the official path. The Stygian Knights would have been placed here purposely by magic at some point. The still burning torches hint at the magical forces within the crypt. It is very difficult to spot, but the mesh near these Stygian Knights has the word Metallica in it. This is not the only time we have seen Bungie insert them into the game. The next area appears to be more of a specialized path that leads to the teleporter on the way to the Ibis Crown and the Bound Monk's Sword. The entrance to this area was where the group of Macridia were blocking the path and the dwarves blew them up from behind. I never knew that dwarves were so sneaky. It is a bit of a mystery why the Macridia are protecting this entrance. Perhaps they are drawn to the Ibis Crown and are protecting it, despite being in opposition to the dwarves, berserks, and bowmen. Just to the right of this opening on the ground are the words Bungie Rules. It is a bit difficult to read. Inside of the room where the Macridia are defending, there are a few pits with fire burning in them. There must be some sort of magic keeping these pits burning. What exactly these pits are representing, I do not know. Again, it is hard to see, but there is a couple of texts on the wall in this room. First you can find Ramirez, which represents Juan Ramirez. Juan Ramirez was one of the model makers for Myth 2 and did a lot of the artwork within the game and manual. In this same room, you can also find Repent, the end is near, written on the wall. Indeed, most that enter this crypt end up dead. After this, we see another group of Stygian Knights on the way to the teleporter. Again, these Stygian Knights were likely placed here to protect the path to the Ibis Crown and other artifacts of power. The dwarves were the ones who built the mausoleum, so they likely built the teleporter much like they built the World Knots. When we get to the final room, there are a few interesting things to think about. The first thing to consider is that the ghosts disappear once you grab the Ibis Crown. This supports the idea that the ghosts somehow exist because their spirits are drawn to the Ibis Crown. The crown is also glowing in the mission, suggesting that this is in fact the real Ibis Crown, as it is radiating its magical powers. Let me fully explain my theory of why I think these ghosts exist because they are drawn to the Ibis Crown's power. This idea originally came to me because of a quote from the journal in a couple of missions called Relic, where the deceiver says he can feel the Tane calling to him. In fact, in the mission Heart of Stone from Myth of Fallen Lords, it explains how this sort of power allowed Soulblighter to discover the Tane during the Great War.
But they say that the darkest artifacts have the ability to bend men to their will, calling soundlessly to the wicked and discontent from thousands of miles away or hundreds of feet beneath the earth or sea, and that in this way they always come to light again, no matter how buried or forgotten. So it was that Soulblighter rediscovered the Tane.
Now, I am not saying that the Ibis Crown is a dark artifact by any means, but if the Ibis Crown's true power is in fact somehow related to the influence of those around the wearer, then it would make sense that it would have similar power to the Tane in this regard. Even more so if you think about it. Maybe it calls out more to those who are not wicked, and that is why Balor and Soulblighter were not able to find it. Perhaps this is why Soulblighter didn't obtain it, and instead placed the shade Herod in Mythemni to try to stop the light from venturing in to obtain it. Little did Soulblighter know that we would have the trout at our disposal. Anyways, once those around the Ibis Crown die, it would make sense that some of their spirits would not leave their body like normal, and would instead stick around as ghosts under the influence of the Ibis Crown. Perhaps that is why the Macridia are also protecting the Ibis Crown, and the largest group of them is in the room with the Ibis crown itself. I mean, the dwarves, berserk, and bowmen are weaker than the Mercuridia and would not be able to hold the crown room from the Mercuridia. Now hopefully I explained that well enough so you can understand my theory on this. If you have any questions about this or have any input on this, let me know in the comments. Now, in the final room, you have the sword Balmung, which will be very useful to Ulrich later in the game. You will notice that there are these white crystal things around it on the ground. I am not sure what to think of these things, but if you look around the room, you will find that there are 2 other places around the wall with these crystal-like things, suggesting that there are other magical items that exist. Some possibilities of what could have been stored there are the Tane, the magical suit of armor that Balor wore, the bow of incandescence from the road north in Myth of Fallen Lords, and possibly even Trauma's mirror which Soulblighter used to bring back Shiver. I look at this area as more as a vault for magical items, and thus stuff was likely stored down here when it was not needed, or when things looked dire to keep them from falling into the wrong hands. For example, it really doesn't make sense to store Balmung and the Ibis crown down here when they can aid the Cathbrug from defending against Balor, or whomever the enemy is at the time. They were likely placed here once the Cathbrug determined that the fall of Mirthemni to Balor was inevitable. The room also has some very interesting murals on the walls. My interpretation of this is that it is images showing the cycle of the leveler. One image shows a hero on it fighting with other warriors against the Cathbrug. The image below him shows a hero with a couple of faces beside him. Perhaps they represent the heroes of that age. It is also possible that they represent the spider cultists, warlocks, or even Avatara. The one on the left is certainly a woman, but it is unclear whether the other is a boy with long hair or a woman. If you take a look at the other images, it shows the men of the world uniting together. The image of what was the hero on the bottom now looks strange, suggesting that he is now wearing the mantle of the leveler and is somehow changed. The 2 faces next to him still exist, and this is why I think this more than likely displays the fallen lords serving the leveler. These fallen heroes were once the same ones who helped the hero defeat the leveler in the previous age. These murals repeat on the wall all around the room. It is almost like a big circle showing the cycle repeats over and over again without fail. We know that the Cathbrug know about the cycle because the narrator first hears about the cycle from a journeyman in Myth of Fallen Lords. The one last interesting thing in this mission is that there are some what I believe to be unused sound files within the tag files. At least I didn't see a way to activate them.
The Bruig were a proud race. I doubt they left this world quietly or completely.
If you take a look at the mission subtitles in Fear, you will find that it reads, "It's dark in here." Is Bungie referring to the subtitle string tag for the mission or the mission itself? Well, that's it for this mission. There was a lot of stuff to cover in this mission, and perhaps I went a bit overboard. I hope you guys enjoy it, even though it was a bit on the long side. If you watched the whole thing and enjoyed every bit of it, let me know in the comments. See you next time in Redemption, where we will now be defending Mirthemni against the Dark Forces.